The Future of Cities is proudly brought to you by Ndiso Consulting Group, empowering institutions that enable Africa's development.
Absolutely true. So, whenever we refer to the government and monitor their work, the tendency is to focus on those at national level. And, rightly so, because those at national level are the political rock stars who set the agenda and a vision for a country. But the real action takes place at local government level. This is where the actual work of implementation takes place. Now, Ndiso Consulting say, in their view, municipalities are the nucleus or the center of a country's development. And when municipalities don't work properly, things fall apart. And you can see it in the case of South Africa. Many basic services are not provided for ordinary people. Now, over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be looking at various aspects of governance to establish how South Africa can create smarter cities that deliver services in an innovative way and in a financially viable way, where rand for rand you are getting your value for money. So let me introduce to you our guests. Miyelani Holeni is the Group Chief Advisor at Ndiso Consulting Group, and he's joined by Zonyane, who's a local government expert. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming through, and thank you for encouraging us to have this conversation. The rest of the world are having this conversation, and so why shouldn't South Africans do the same? Zolani, let's start with you. For people to say municipalities is really the heartbeat of government service delivery, and that's really where you can measure democracy. Explain what is meant by that.
Firstly, good morning to you, Lerato, the team at Power. But most importantly, good morning to the Power community,
Absolutely.
Which I form part of. In tackling your question, it's important to understand a municipality in a context of a business. That's how I always craft it.
Yeah.
That a municipality is in a business of providing services to its customers, to its citizens.
Yeah.
For us to have functional municipalities, there is the accountability value chain, which starts with the administration that provides or deliver the services, the council that has got an oversight over the administration, and then the citizens, which is the community, which also has a role to play in holding the councils accountable. But what has been a problem, specifically in our country, we have outsourced our role as citizens to those who are in council. And then we fail to hold them to account to us. When things go wrong, when things go right, that loop is the one that I think, as the citizens, as the Power community, we need to start acting that particular role to ensure that we've got functional municipalities.
So this is a governance issue for you. Let's get your view, Miyelani, in terms of the disconnect. Because municipalities, their job is service delivery. But if I painted for you a picture of South Africa today, general, shall I? You can see the disconnect. So here we are in Gauteng, City Power and Eskom blackouts. Joburg. That's before I even mentioned the potholes. East London, just this week, the head of their water supply in the city said that it's inevitable that within the next few days, they're going to have water shortages.
Sure.
East London. Mahikeng has a huge, terrible waste management issue. Pretoria also has refuse collection, and they're not treating water and sanitation properly. So people are drinking dirty water out of their pipes in Hammanskraal. Mangaung in the Free State is even in administration as we speak. And Cape Town, whilst they're trying to resolve their public transportation issues, they've been long-standing public transportation issues, and we can go on and on. So that's a picture of municipalities in South Africa. What is it that the councils don't understand or can't get right on this one basic issue of service delivery?
Yeah, I think if you take a broader picture, and certainly what Zolani opened with, to say municipality should be municipal services, whatever, company. That is what it is. Yeah. I think we have forgotten the aspect of service within municipality. Yeah. We have forgotten the aspect that, service is rendered to a person or people who are paying or who duly require those services and are worthy to receive those services. So what happens, and I say this tongue-in-cheek in my conversations, that if you treat a municipality just like any other government department, you will get exactly what you're getting today. Okay. If you treat a municipality like the lowest rung or lowest, tier of government, and it's the last, government, no one desires to be there. Yeah. The skills, as you opened, are sitting at the top. You will get a local government such as the one that we're getting, and will continue to perpetuate. If you continue to starve local government of the necessary funding that it requires, you will continue to get this. And less than 10% of the fiscus going to local government means that they can only do so little. And if you then apportion all of that to the provinces, to the national, you are in effect supporting a bureaucratic system which is not going to yield delivery of services but will yield great policies.
You've just given us a staggering figure there. 10% of the budget is allocated to municipalities, and yet 90% of the work that's required to make South Africans feel like a government is working is at the municipal level.
So the system we currently have is that municipalities are funded through equitable share. And if we go into the assumptions of the local government white paper, which was crafted in 1998, thank you to those people who crafted it, but they only had so much data, which was pre-democracy, that they could use to craft the system of municipalities. Now we at least have 25 years of data. Mm-hmm. Surely we can go back into that data, those data points, and be able to recraft and reimagine what local government is going to look like. And certainly the assumption that the urban centers, yes, they were paying and they had good infrastructure, but the other areas of the countries, whether you call them the black local councils, whether you call them the Bantustans, whether you call them the TBVC states, you may call them whatever you wish to call them. They did not have the infrastructure, they did not have the industry, and therefore some of the culture of paying for services or even receiving services was absent in those areas. So we have taken a country and re-demarcated it into a large country with municipalities, 257 of them, but they are all not equal. They don't have the same powers, they don't have the same muscles. Worst of all is they should be attracting investment, but they don't have the wherewithal to be able to craft incentives, such as SARS or the tax authorities could do that, so that they can invite more investors to invest in those areas, which is what drives a municipality, investment and industry.
I don't want to belabor the investment story, because over the next few weeks we will look at financing models, but 257 municipalities, and generally 2/3 and even more often get qualified audits. So if we're talking about money coming into municipalities, it beggars belief. Many people would be loath to be bringing money into municipalities because it doesn't look like they know how to manage it well.
That is true in so many ways, Lerato, in that if one, for an example, looks at the National Development Plan, it talks about building the capacity of the state and building the capable state. If it remains a dream and not something that we deal with, that will forever be a problem, because, as I've said, you can go to power is a business. I'm making a typical example. And for its success, it depends on various ways of raising revenue. But for it to raise revenue, there must be a certain skill set to do that. You go to municipalities. As I've said, municipalities are businesses. They deliver services. But it goes back to the issue of payment. How much of that which municipalities bill is it to actual cash that goes to the municipality? That's one issue, which MH has touched on, to say, based on the assumptions that were made, it was on the basis that at least 90% of municipal revenue will be coming from own sources of revenue, which is not happening. Going to the issue of financial management, and it's always my contention to say, even those who get clean audits, look at service delivery. Up to that point, you match the two. Then you can start talking about a successful run municipality.
I like what you're saying, because we were in Zonyane recently, and their big issue at the moment is liquidity and making sure that they collect all the debts and rates and taxes. But people are saying, I'm paying, but I'm still not having my refuse collected. So what is the point of the exercise? So that's the disconnect you're talking about. You can have a clean balance sheet and work towards it, but you've got to be providing those services. So let me ask you, Miyelani, if I said look around the world and give to me an example of a well-run city for all these reasons, what would it be?
I will actually name a couple of cities.
Go ahead.
And I like Tokyo. But let me go with New York, for instance. Okay, we go with New York because some of the things that are happening there, and it just shows that local government need not be just about water, electricity, sanitation, and so on. It can also be about public transport.
Right.
And those aspects that cover public transport where there are pressures, and those entities that are able to look at parks and manage parks and the greening of the environment. So basically, those municipalities work because they are citizen focused and they are customer centric, which is something that we're going to expand upon. So you then go to other cities around the world as well, such as in Schiphol. They have managed to build what is called a airport city, if you want, where you are integrating how people move seamlessly from one level to the next and into the office and into various places. Of course, it's a heavily taxed society, you may argue.
The Netherlands, Amsterdam.
The Netherlands.
Okay.
And of course, you then want to look at the best practice that says citizens are engaged, things happen, whether it's online, and there are options. Let me put it like that. Right. There are many touch points. It's not just one touch point where a municipality is not just a place which you visit, but a municipality is anywhere, is everything, is in your palm, is on the telephone. It's in different places. And what they've done as well is that they have managed to get their funding models to be in coherent, because they also look at the tourism aspect. They also look at collecting those fees from tourism. So they also then have a responsibility towards making sure that they invite more tourists, because it's part and parcel of their balance sheet. So they are looking much wider than what a typical municipality would be looking at. But of course, the issue of capacity, capability, skills, and the biggest one of them is to have a strategic mindset when dealing with all of these things and pulling them together. So that's what a good municipality would be. And of course, lastly, when they do things, they do them in full and they do them on time.
We're in conversation here on what an ideal city looks like. It's the Smart City series on Power Talk, brought to you by Ndiso Consulting. We're in conversation with Miyelani Holeni and Zolani Zonyane, and we are saying, let's take some of these examples of international best practice, what's already been done, modify the template for our South African condition, and let's reimagine what a really dynamic, integrated, strategically focused, inclusive municipality would look like. It's 10:50.
Tackling the challenges of our time, one conversation at a time. Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
We're talking about dreaming big for South Africa's cities and municipalities, because, we can either complain every day about the power outages, the potholes, the water shortages, the congestion caused by traffic, or we can start talking about solutions to those problems that would make city dwellers productive and businesses cost effective, because it wouldn't be expensive to be running your business in a country where the electricity prices are shooting up the roof and you don't even get the electricity in the first place. So, Zolani, we've heard what makes a great city, and it's already happening. New York, because they've thought about people living in proximity to work, being able to commute to work, creating green spaces where people can socialize, safety and security. Tokyo, the same sort of thing. Amsterdam, an airport city. So using that strategic advantage of the Schiphol airport and linking it to industry, businesses, and how people live. Are South Africans thinking that way?
I would say partly yes, looking at the current developments, but more no. But also in framing my answer, in 2010, I had an opportunity to be in a group study exchange in Denmark. Yes. I spent 4 weeks there, and my focus was on municipalities. Again, in 2012, through my employer at that time, we embarked on a benchmark exercise. We went to UK, London, we went to Amsterdam, we went to Germany. Also, the focus was to look at the best practices.
Yeah.
Now, in framing my answer, I also want to link to your guest on Monday, Ukoko Obrimachiku, who said, we've got the current, we've got the aspiration.
Yeah.
But the road in between is a zigzag, which I believe Ndiso will be taking the listeners through that road or some of the elements, because it's not going to be conclusive of how we get there. Yeah. Mine today is to imagine my city in 2063.
Go for it.
For a reason that it's Africa Month, that's number one. But secondly, it will be 100 years since the Organization of the African Union, now the African Union has been in existence.
And I interject there, and we've got Agenda 2063 at an African level.
So this city in 2063 is framed on that basis to say, what is this citizen-driven city that I'm in 2063?
Yeah.
That's where, us as citizens, we actively participate in our government. It's not something that we leave to those who lead us and assume they will do right by us. This city of mine in 2063, the ease of access to socio-economic services. We no longer talk of basic services. The technology infrastructure that has been built makes life quite easy.
Right.
As this old man that I am, I can just take my device. If I have an issue with my city, go to the device and they're logging a query, the response time and everything that goes with that. Also, the responsibility of me as this citizen to nurture that leader which I will vote for to office. It depends on me, not on anyone else. That's what makes this city to function. Customer-centric city that my city is in 2063. It is the one that relies on credible data, reliable data, accurate data, because data in our age is a gold mine. It has been said many times. Customer service, as I've indicated, is enabled through technology. Right. I don't have to go physically to a city building for me to express that which is I'm not happy with. The uninterrupted provision of these socio-economic services, it is a norm. It's not something that I think today there might be a blackout tomorrow. That thing, we left it in 2030. It no longer exists.
Please, we left it in 2022, please.
I think also we need to be somehow realistic, because that problem won't be solved in 2022. But what is it that we do in solving that problem for a sustainable future, for a sustainable city? It then goes back to us as citizens to say, yes, we have had an understanding for quite some time, but let's come in to co-create some of the solutions. Because the issue of co-creation, it doesn't exist within municipalities as entities. As citizens, and I normally say we are shareholders, specifically the customers, we've got a responsibility to co-create the solutions that must be applied in our government.
Right. Lehlonolo's on the line. Lehlonolo, you've got something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to come in as a business to say, as we co-create with our municipalities, we're running a business in mining around some small dorpies around Mpumalanga. So we've been engaging municipalities insofar as subsidizing some of their core functions like fixing of roads, fixing of town halls. Now, I want to understand from the economies of partnership with municipalities and the business in helping municipalities, to go through that bridge of lack of resources, but also professionalization of our input as well. What do they see in 2063? Would that method continues or should it change? We're just in the middle of nowhere. What is their scenario feature?
Of course, Lihlonolo, the operating model of municipalities is premised on what we knew and what we know today. But I think with the benefit of projections and scenarios, the functions of municipalities are ones that are going to be not centralized, but they are going to be devolved. We would want to even see a community or a ward where the waste is collected by the community and it's already separated and it's already going to the recycling stations, and that waste goes into the manufacturing where they then remanufacture various things. So this new municipality that we're talking about is one that says, what does the citizen want? What is the heartbeat of the citizen? What does my customer want, and what are they prepared to pay for, and what are they not prepared to pay for? It's one that is going to be driven by innovation, and is one that is going to allow even the community to say, I have a brilliant idea. I must not wait for the blue lights to pass through my area such that I can punt my idea. But it must be something that says we are co-creating and we are giving you ideas as our representatives. May you take them forward, because it's not practical for us to be in the same place in council, but we are entrusting you with a plan. In fact, let's start by planning together in an integrated manner. And let's start by collapsing some of the bureaucratic structures that are there within government, where municipalities have to have funding channeled through via another sphere of government until it reaches it. So let's talk about performance management. The community must be able to say, Councillor so-and-so, revenue officer so-and-so, we like what you do. We are giving you 5 out of 5. Therefore, when there's performance bonuses that are given, we are going to at least, you're not even going to go through an appraisal. We've appraised you. So this is a city that allows the voice of the citizen, as well as the devolution of some of the responsibilities for private sector to help public sector, because that's the model that we should have. Public sector cannot do it all.
Okay.
Also to assist the listener, there are currently some initiatives at the city of Joburg with that medical company and that insurance company that have taken it upon themselves to say, let's do something in trying to change what we see. Even ordinary citizens, where I stay in Kempton Park, there are certain pockets where the citizens have taken it upon themselves to fix the potholes, because the municipality is simply not coming on board. So in 2063, those challenges will not be there, because we are talking of a sound, functional city, a sustainable city, a city that takes care of its citizens, and most importantly, a city that takes care of its customers.
And I think that's a great place to leave it for the very first installment of our Smart Cities series with Ndiso Consulting. The city of the future is one where we are active. We don't wait for somebody to come and fix a problem. We fix it with the local government. We pay our rates and taxes, and they use our rates and taxes to provide us with better services. We innovate around waste management. We innovate around living spaces, green buildings, traffic management. We use technology and AI, and most importantly, we're engaged, and we use our phones and our apps to say, I have a problem, you fix it, and when they fail to fix it, I have a problem, I'm voting you out. That's our conversation. We'll continue 2 weeks from now. Thank you, gentlemen. Miyelani, Holeni, and Zolani, Zonyane.
The Future of Cities was proudly brought to you by Ndiso Consulting Group, empowering institutions that enable Africa's development.